All right, so a few days ago, I did a video, this one right here that you'll see here. It was basically about my house MVPs from the clone houses inspired brands that I have in my collection. You all enjoyed it. You all watched it. Definitely appreciate that. But then one of you took it a step further, right? So shout out to Coach Keith 643. I'll put the comment up here. He basically was like, okay, now that you've given us your MVPs, put them in order. And so that's what we're going to do. As much as I am not necessarily a fan of doing that just because it's subjective, and I reserve the right to change my mind next week, as it were, but I'm going to give you what I feel right now as far as the fragrances that I mentioned in that video. I'm going to give them to you in the order of my least favorite to my most favorite. But let me also just point out, even my least favorite, I really do like and really do enjoy because it's a house MVP, right? So stick around. We're going to give you that list that came about as a comment that one of you put into my comments. All right, stick around. All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, and you are watching Smell Goods. I appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit as we run through, talk through, discuss more of these fragrances, more of the smell goods, more of the things that we are enjoying. And so if this is content that you enjoy, and chances are, because the algorithm knows, it reads your mind. I don't know if you know that, but it does. But if this is content that you enjoy, you know what to do by now. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, request notifications, and share. And then meet me in the comments, much like the person that inspired this video did. He's getting a shout out. So again, Coach Keith 643, you get a shout out for your comment that triggered another video. So definitely appreciate that. Now, as I mentioned, put the video out a few days ago and doing well. You guys are enjoying it, but he asked for me to now rank those house MVPs for my clones and my inspired brands, rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite, right? And again, my least favorite doesn't mean that it's trash, doesn't mean it's just my least favorite. And I'll explain kind of why I feel that is my least favorite of the fragrances that are on this, right? But now stick around till the end because you will want to see what my number one fragrance is out of this list that I have right now. All right, so let's just jump into it. Let's just go with it. Let's just start. I think there were 9 houses that I covered in that previous video. So that means I'm going to give you my top 9 of the houses that I have at least 3 fragrances of, and I gave you a house MVP. First up, number 9 is going to be from the house of Paris Corner. This is Rifaaqat. This is their take, as it were, on Baby Cat, right? Now, does a pretty good job of getting in the space, does a pretty good job of getting in the area. Not a bad smelling fragrance at all. Smells really good. For me, this is probably just my least favorite from the standpoint of, for me, wearing or wearability. Not wearability as far as being able to wear it, but just as much as, more so when I would wear it or how I would wear it. If I'm looking at my fragrances, this is the one that I would probably reach for the least, only because the scenarios that I think this best fits, which is kind of like your elevated, your really, elevated nights out and things of that nature. Your banquets, those type of things. This probably doesn't, I don't have a lot of those that I attend on a regular basis. So from that aspect, this is my number 9 fragrance, but still a great fragrance, still something that I still rock, especially as we get into the cooler months. It is going to be broken out every now and then, but again, just as I'm thinking of my affinity for wearing it, it's probably going to be my least of the 9 that I have. All right. So that was Paris Corner's Rifaaqat. Next one up is from the house of Khadlaj, and this is Khadlaj Island. Khadlaj Island. Now this is doing its take on, I think it's Le Beau, if I remember correctly, but this is a Jean Paul Gaultier type fragrance. Great for summer, great for what it does. Just for me, it's not something in fact, of my summer fragrances, I did reach for this, did get compliments on it, but this was probably my least reached for. Of the ones that were my MVPs or my all-stars of the summer fragrances. Again, not a bad fragrance, but if I'm ranking these in order, I've just got to be honest and say this is probably my number 8 fragrance. Again, not bad, really good, does a good job of getting you in the space, but there's some other heat in this collection or in this list that will probably be, that will be pulled for more, will be reached for more. and be worn more. All right. But again, my number 8, we're going to go with Khadlaj Island. All right. Now, this next one, for some of you, this may be a surprise. For some of you, this may be a shocker, and I'll explain why. Right. Well, let's just break it out. We're talking about my number 7 fragrance is from Armaf Precieux. I rank it that low because that little dangle, I hate that. Just joking, right? But this is doing their take on Creed Absolute Ventus. Does a really good job. I really enjoy this, really like this. But if I'm ranking, part of it is because the one that I prefer that is in that same space as far as Absolute Ventus ranks higher for me. Now, this, again, in fact, I layer this with the other one that you'll see here in a moment. I layer them together. I like this. I wear this. I enjoy it. But there's some others that are different DNAs that rank higher because I already have something that has this DNA that definitely ranks higher as well, if that makes sense. Hopefully that you kind of got my little statement there. All right. But as far as where this one ranks, it is my number. What is this? Number 7. But by no means is this a bad fragrance. By no means is this like just a low man on the totem pole. If we're talking about MVPs right now, this is coming off the bench, as it were, right? If I've got my starting 5, this is coming off the bench. This is the second guy off the bench, and he's still performing. He's still doing what he needs to do. He's just not a starter for me compared to the other things, right? Think about it. If I've got Jordan in my starting lineup, as much as I appreciate Kobe's probably going to be coming off the bench just because they both played the shooting guard role, right? That's just how I would put it. Again, no slight against Kobe. So don't come for me about Kobe because I'm a Kobe appreciator. All right. Next up, so my number 6 fragrance is from Al Haramain. This was the MVP for Al Haramain, and that is Amber Oud Aqua Dubai. Aqua Dubai. Focus there. There we go. All right, we can get to focus. This is their take on imagination, and this was the one that especially, you can see the dent there. Got this earlier this year, and you can see that I put a nice dent in it because your boy was wearing this. Your boy was really rocking this. And this is one that it does a pretty good job. It's now, admittedly, as I think I mentioned in the previous video, it's not the best imagination take for me as far as what I have in my collection. But when I'm looking at everything and I'm choosing my MVPs, this is the one that came out of that house, and this is the one that if I've got to have an imagination clone, I'm going to wear it, and this is one that I'm going to wear. So this is my number 6 fragrance in my list of MVPs. Again, Al Haramain Aqua Dubai. All right, let's drop that there. Next one up. Now we're in our top 5. So if you watch the video, you kind of know some things, so you might even want to just kind of put some guesses as far as what's going to be number 1 and so on into the chat. See if you're right. But as far as my number 5 fragrance from the House of Lattafa, and as I mentioned, even this might be technically more of a niche fragrance just because I don't think it's really cloning anything. But we're talking about Teriaq Intense from Lattafa, the plum liqueur. This is, I think one of you asked. Drop the cap. Don't matter. We're gonna keep rolling. One of you asked in the comments, was this in the same space as Kamra? Yes, it's in the same or similar space, but this I believe is more of a unique fragrance than Kamra. Kamra was inspired by and really inspired by, as it were, of Angel Share. This is in the space if you want to kind of say that it's a general space. But I think that this is its own thing and its own thing that does it very well. So my number 5 fragrance, without the cap because it's on the floor somewhere down here, is Teriaq Intense from Lattafa. Which brings us to number 4. Number 4 was one that I struggled with only because the 3 that I have from this particular house, all of them do a very good job of doing their take on what they're doing their take on. And one I ruled out just because I already have something with that DNA and that profile. And so I was trying to choose from the other 2 in this house. The one that it went up against is one that was my first one from that house, from this particular house, and one that I really enjoy. But this one is just I really enjoy the scent profile. I really am digging kind of what it does. I'm talking about from the Game of Spades line of Joe Milano. This is Boston, and this is their take on Centerpiece for a Man or for Him by Bond Number 9. And this fragrance rocks. It rocks. I mean, the pineapple, the red berries, this, I think it's red berries or blackcurrant, I can't remember. But this fragrance right here, this is one of my favorites. It's definitely top 4 as far as what I've got as far as my cologne inspired takes. And it's one that I've been reaching for quite a few times as far as going to work and things of that nature, just because I really enjoy this fragrance, which also means that for me, I'll probably end up with a bottle of the OG because it is scratching the itch. Don't get me wrong, but that OG Bond Number 9 Centerpiece, it's going to be a must have for my collection. All right. But number 4 as far as this video is going to be from the Game of Spades line from Joe Milano. It's going to be Boston. All right. Next one up. So now we're in our top 3. We've got our top 3. There are some things, if you watch that video, there's some things you're probably like, you might be guessing where they're going to fall. You might be surprised. But number 3 out of what's remaining from French Avenue is Liquid Brun. Liquid Brun. This is their take on Altair by Parfums de Marly. Really good, very close. That orange, that vanilla, all of that just works really, really well. Something that, especially as we get into the cooler seasons, the cooler days and cooler weeks, will be worn. This is a fragrance that definitely scratches the itch for Altair. So much so that I may not ever get Altair. I may not. We'll see. But it definitely scratches that itch and really does such a great job that, yeah. All right. But this right here is my number 3 fragrance. Very good, very nice quality, very much a performer. Does all the things that you want a fragrance to do. So from the House of French Avenue or / Fragrance World, my number 3 fragrance as far as my house MVPs, Liquid Brun. We're going to rock with that. Now we're down to our final 2. We're at the top 2. There's 2 houses remaining. There is Afnan and there is Yom Layl, because we did include Yom Layl because they are, especially as far as what I have from them, they are an imitation or inspired by house. So therefore they qualify for this MVP ranking countdown, whatever you want to call it. Now, let's just jump into it. Let's just, no suspense. We'll just do it. My number 2 is Afnan Supremacy Collector's Edition. Now, this, as I mentioned a little earlier with the Club de Nuit Precieux, this is also doing its take on the Absolute Aventus DNA. This is more of a twist, I believe, on it. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've done a side-by-side review in comparison to them. But this one is, if I recall, more of the twist than the other one. This is a fragrance that I still wear a lot. This is one that I'm probably going to have to get a backup bottle of just because of how much I wear this and how much I enjoy this. It lasts, it performs, it has that DNA that I absolutely love, the Creed Aventus and the Absolute Aventus DNA. Basically, the Aventus DNA and the offshoots that it has within Creed are like my all-time favorite DNA. And so this does a very good job of getting an approximation of it, twisting on it, whatever you want to call it, and doing it in a way that performs very well. But this is my number 2 fragrance. Does not mean that this is by any means a slouch of a fragrance. It just means that the number 1 fragrance is one that I really, really, really enjoy and one that I really like. So my number 2 fragrance, again, is Afnan Supremacy Collector's Edition. All right. Which then brings us to my number 1 house MVP. This fragrance is one that the first time I smelled it, the OG, I was like, I need to have a bottle of it. In fact, it's still one of my holy grail fragrances. I'm trying to find it on discounters to come down because that price that it is retail, yeah, it needs to come down some. But until I find that deal, this is the fragrance, or this particular bottle is the one that is definitely scratching the itch. It is the one that is definitely getting me through until I find that discounted, hopefully discounted bottle of the OG. but we're talking about from Yom Layl. This is Raazi. This is Raazi, and it is doing its take on Yom Layl, on Mind Games Jadoob, which for me is my #1 Mind Games fragrance. They have some great ones that have some heavy hitters from Mind Games, but for me, Jadoob is the one that is just, it's a masterpiece for me. It's one that I definitely want to have, and which means that for me, this take on Jadoob and how Yom Layl does it with the performance, with the closeness, the proximity to the OG, this is my #1 fragrance of the House of VPs. Yeah, this performs, this lasts, this is a room filler, room shifter, all those things. It does all the things that you want a fragrance to do, does it very well, and gets very close to that DNA for me. So that's my #1. All right, that's it. I think I've given you, yes, I have given you all 9. Now, again, I do reserve the right to change my mind because all of this is subjective. How I feel about a fragrance today may change in a week, may change in 2 months, may change in 4 months, just because maybe I'm getting tired of a DNA or what have you. It's possible, right? So, but as of right now, as of the filming of this, those are my 9. That's what I'm going to stick with. That's what we're going to rock with. All right. But now do me a favor, in the comments, put what your top clone house MVPs might be out of your collection. I'm always looking for things that I may have overlooked, things maybe I haven't gotten my nose on. I'm always looking for those. So definitely put that in the comments. And again, if you have a comment that opens up maybe another video or something like that, it could be chosen to do just like I did for Coach Keith 643, do another video based upon that. All right, that's it for this one. Do me the favor, of course, stay safe, stay sane, stay smelling good. Hit the like button, hit the request notification, share, subscribe, all of those things, and then meet me in the comments. And then, of course, I've got a video here that should be very useful to you in your fragrance journey to help you maybe get something else that might, or at least get some more information about something that might be useful for you. All right, that's it. See you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed. Peace, y'all.